Hi, my name's Luke Walker and I'm going to tell you why exercise is important as part of an overall weight management programme. So I have a big interest in preventative medicine. So this could mean cancer screening, eating more fibre, having a good social network, weighing less, drinking less, smoking less, controlling blood pressure and cholesterol, all incredibly important. And I wouldn't want to minimise your interest in one of those individual categories, but I wanted to know what comes first, what has the biggest impact overall, what makes the biggest difference to our health. So I did my research and I found an answer. It's difficult to find an answer to all these things as they're overlapping topics. So I found this thing and it works for so many health problems. So this thing works for patients with knee arthritis who received 1 hour of this treatment 3 times a week, and it reduced their symptoms by 47%. In older patients it reduced the effects of dementia and Alzheimer's by around 50%. Patients with high risk of diabetes, it reduced progression by 58%. Postmenopausal women who had 4 hours of sleep of this specific treatment had a 41% reduction in the risk of hip fracture. It reduced anxiety by 48%. Patients suffering from depression, 30%, were relieved with this treatment. It's the #1 treatment of fatigue, with the most favourite outcome of this thing is the quality of life which it provides. Really is all of the above and really about making your life better. So what is this thing? This thing I'm talking about is simply exercise. Mostly walking, not triathlons. So let me just put it in a different way. What I'm asking you to do is imagine your typical day. There's 24 hours in a day, so you might spend most of that day, this is in a general, obviously you might spend most of the day being a couch potato, sitting at work or sleeping. The best thing you can do is exercise for half an hour up to an hour approximately per day. If you even do that, you can realise all the benefits described in the previous section. So let's look at this in more detail. Let's look at Stephen Blair. He's a professor in the United States at a School of Public Health, and he looked at this in what is called the aerobic central longitudinal study that followed approximately 5,000 men and women over a short period of time. So to the left of the graph is something called attributional factors, a fancy word, but it's the estimate of the number of deaths in a population that would have been avoided if a specific risk factor had been erased. For example, turning a smoker into a non-smoker or a couch potato into a daily walker. And along the bottom is a typical risk factors, so you can see the hypertension is incredibly important. So the one that applied the most risk factor was a sort of mysterious CRF, which is cardiorespiratory fitness, which is really low. So low fitness was the strongest predictor of death, and it's the most important that most of the treatment systems are funded by pharmaceutical or other companies as they have a drug for hypertension or diabetes, and we rarely see fitness thrown into the mix. So it's nice to see a trial that's not so biased. So he did another trial looking into obesity specifically, and he found 1 or 2 things. One is obesity and no exercise. That's a very bad combination. So that's where we saw many of the negative consequences of obesity from a health point of view. So if an obese person was active, even if they didn't have the weight loss but were just active and obese, that was much better than the exercise got rid of much of the negative consequences of obesity. So if exercise is a medicine, what's the dose? So when I think of a dose, I think of how much or how often, how intense. The NHS recommend about 30 minutes per day of physical activity. So if you're being less active than 150 minutes per week or more, if you're a child that is, up to an hour a day, then the flag goes up in my clinic here at Rio. So you can break it down. We can do 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes if you want to do 30 minutes of exercise. So it can be broken into 3. So if you're only going to do, if you're only going to do it if it's pre-booked with friends, couples take half an hour walk in the morning or evenings to organise their life, for example. The dog is a great walking coach. The data shows that 2/3 or 67% of dog walkers achieve the 150 minutes a week just with regular dog walking. And finally, of course, your commute, getting off the stop, maybe a stop earlier on the bus. So I'm just going to leave you with 2 quotes. One from Jerry Garcia, that someone has to do something, it's just incredibly pathetic that it has to be us. And in some ways this is true, it has to be us to make the change. The other quote is from Hippocrates, and that is that walking is a man's best medicine. And this, from what I've said before, is entirely true. Thank you for listening. Been Luke Walker.